live, and a big welcome to all of you that are here tonight live and to those that are watching the virtual recording as well. We are so glad that you've tuned in. As you know, Plant-Based Nutrition Support Group is a nonprofit organization that's dedicated to helping people learn about the benefits of whole food plant-based nutrition and how effective it is to prevent, halt, or reverse chronic disease. And no matter where you are on your journey, you are more than welcome here to learn or to continue growing in your journey. And as our founder, Paul Chatlin, like to says, we are together as one. We are here to support each other. So my name is Sid Notter. I lead the inflammation support group here on the first Tuesday of every month. And just a reminder, there are like 12 support groups here. And as a member, you have access to all of those. There's a calendar with the schedule. There's one for diabetes, one for heart disease, one for living plant-based in an omnivore household. There's all types of support groups, and you can join in anytime. Now, tonight is our free monthly community support group, which always happens on the second Thursday of the month. And this meeting is open to everyone, not just members. So make sure you invite your friends to these as well. Tonight, we have a very special speaker, Denise Rose. Let me tell you a little bit about her. Dr. Denise Rose, she's a Ph.D., a sociologist, and a passionate educator who has taught whole food plant-based nutrition for several years. And I've hosted a few meetings here for Dr. Denise Rose, and she always is so informative. You're going to be in for a treat tonight. She's going to be talking about, I don't know about you, but there's so much conflicting information out there when it comes to diet and health that many people are nutritionally confused. And Denise will tell us what major medical organizations have to say about plant-based eating, and then she'll have advice for us on how to get started with this way of eating as well. Now, if you have any questions for Denise, she's going to pause periodically to see if there are any questions, or we'll get to those at the end so she can get through her slides. So welcome, Denise.
Thank you so much. I'm happy to be here. And if you want to go ahead and spotlight me, we'll get started. And I'm going to bring my slideshow up. So let me do that. Hello, everybody who is watching live and also later. All right, let's see if it'll go from here. All right, I see you can see that.
Yep.
So, as Sid said, I'm going to talk about who says whole food plant-based diets are truly healthy. And there are a lot of medical groups and a growing community of doctors. So let me give you some clue-ins all about this. So let's start out with the position paper of the Academy of Nutrition and Dietetics. That's the professional organization of dietitians and nutritionists. And back in 2016, they actually created a position paper to say that a plant-based diet is safe for anyone at any age in the life cycle. And this is the abstract of that. And I'm just going to kind of highlight just a couple sentences here. They say appropriately planned vegetarian, including vegan diets are healthful, nutritionally adequate, may provide health benefits for the prevention and treatment of certain diseases. And these these diets are appropriate for all stages of life, including pregnancy, lactation, infancy, childhood, adolescence, older adulthood, and for athletes. And you also might know that plant-based diets are more environmentally sustainable than diets rich in animal products. And if you believe that climate change is real and not something made up, you don't want to keep eating animal foods, particularly like big land animals like cows and pigs and things like that. That use lots of land and for grazing and all the water. And there's so many issues with it. But plant-based diet is so much better for our planet, and we obviously have to try to do something so we don't have the suffering that's going on all over our world now with the rain and the storms and all the fires and all those kinds of things. So anyways, this came from the Academy of Nutrition and Dietetics. I found this slide at the American Heart Association website. How does plant-forward or plant-based eating benefit your health? Well, If you're considering eating less meat, giving it up entirely, the benefits are clear. Less risk of disease and improved health and well-being. Specifically, less meat decreases the risk of, look at all these diseases: heart disease, stroke, obesity, high blood pressure, high cholesterol, type 2 diabetes, and many cancers. Now just think like how many times you might have been on YouTube and some, commercial comes on with some influencer telling you, you don't have to worry about cholesterol, you don't have to worry about saturated fat. That's not what the Heart American Association is saying, because they know that when you eat animal food, you're getting cholesterol and saturated fat, and that blocks your arteries. So pay attention to what they're saying, not the influencers who have no real credibility. How about the American Cancer Society? This came from their webpage. Following a healthy eating pattern at all ages includes foods high in nutrients that in amounts that help you get and stay at a healthy body weight. That is one of the best things about plant-based diets. Most of the food is actually extremely low calorie, especially if you don't go to the supermarket and buy these new vegan foods created in factories that still might have coconut oil in it or a bunch of other oil, or too much sugar. If you eat food that you buy like in the produce department and bring it home and cook it, and then you don't throw in a bunch of oils, and sugars, you are going to be much better prepared to maintain a healthy weight and lose weight. Okay, what else? A variety of vegetables is what's included in a healthy eating pattern. Dark green, red, orange, fiber-rich legumes, and others. Fruits, especially the whole fruits, and whole grains. And what does it not include? Red and processed meats. Processed meats is a class 1 carcinogen as found by the World Health Organization, and red meat is a probable carcinogen. Why would you even think of putting that in your body, right? Sausage, pepperoni, the stuff you put on pizza, hot dogs, and you give to your grandkids maybe, right? We don't want to put that in our body. It causes disease. Sugar sweetened beverages, highly processed foods, refined grain products. How about diabetes? So many people have type 2 diabetes or pre-diabetes. They don't even know about it. This came from a journal and from the diabetes site, and you can see that circled there that plant-based diets is one of the eating patterns that won't only help you manage type 2 diabetes, but a whole food plant-based diet can actually help you reverse the root cause, which is insulin resistance. And sadly, so many doctors and dietitians don't tell you that. They just say, take the drugs, wear a glucose monitor, watch your blood sugar, but they don't attack the root cause, which is typically too much saturated fat on your insulin receptors because of what you've been eating. Now, this was interesting to me because back in 2017, the American Medical Association passed a resolution talking about our hospitals, right? Our hospitals are supposed to be places where we treat us to get better for health. But sadly, the food they serve to their patients, their staff, their visitors are typically food that causes disease. Maybe there's a little profit motive in that, right? Who knows? But the AMA says hospitals need to start changing by providing a variety of healthful food, including plant-based meals and meals that are low in fat, sodium, and added sugars, eliminating those carcinogens, those processed meats from the menus, and providing healthful beverages, which means take the sugar out. And what I thought was really cool is I learned a couple of years ago that in New York City, they have a group of hospitals that when you come there as a patient, when you get your menu, the first menu they give you is a plant-based menu. And it might be culturally diverse based on, what your ethnicity is. So maybe it's an Indian plant-based menu, or maybe it's a Thai plant-based menu, or a Jamaica plant-based menu. But supposedly that is what you get first. So you can pick healthy food while you're in the hospital, not disease-promoting food. And then I want to just mention to you two organizations that are really big in promoting what I'm talking about today, a whole food plant-based diet to give you your best shot at disease prevention, or if you have diseases, gives you the opportunity to turn it around and get rid of it and get healthy. And so one of these organizations that you can go find online is the American College of Lifestyle Medicine. You see the web thing there. And they talk about that there are 6 major pillars to optimal health. I'm talking today about the first one, nutrition. But they also, prioritize these other 5: physical activity, stress management, restorative sleep, social connection, and avoidance of risky substances, of course, like alcohol and drugs. And they have a lot of great material on their website. And if anybody is watching who actually is in the medical field, notice this: free CME-CE credits. Because people who are in the medical field have to keep their license up to date. They have to keep doing training. And you can get training in plant-based nutrition for free. So isn't that a cool thing? And then there's a journal that you can subscribe to, as you see up there, all about lifestyle medicine, lots of nutrition articles. So I want you just to know about that. And then the other one is the Plantrition Project. That was started, I believe, by Dr. Scott Stoll. And this is another great organization where it's a community of doctors and medical people who also, want to advocate whole food plant-based nutrition and these other lifestyle principles for their patients. And they also have great learning. If you notice, there's the Plantrition University, and so there are like some courses and articles that can be gotten there. This is the journal actually that they have. Plantrition Providers is actually like a directory that a medical person could put their name in and say, I advocate whole food plant-based nutrition and I live in New Jersey. Unfortunately, there's not enough of these people yet, all around our country, but perhaps where you live, there might be somebody, who understands this evidence for eating this way and will advocate it. So you could check that out as well. So I just wanted to show you a study actually that was, so hopefully you found that like really inspiring, right? And did you notice like when she compared the vegetarians to the vegans were always doing better. The ones who gave up their dairy and eggs, they gave up that saturated fat, that cholesterol, that animal protein that also can trigger something called IGF-1, growth hormone, grow cancer cells, right? So going fully plant-based, eating it the healthiest way is going to give you the best chance, at reduced suffering. That's, what motivates me. So this was actually a study from a couple of years ago when COVID was going on, and I just thought it was interesting to share. So that they looked at people who were working in the healthcare field in 6 countries among healthcare workers who had high exposure to COVID-19 patients. And they asked them, what kind of diets they eat. And they found that if they were eating plant-based or pescatarian, meaning the only animal food really usually is fish, that they had lower odds of getting serious COVID. But the plant-based dieters had the best lower odds, right? 73% lower odds compared to those following like those keto, low carb diets that you'll find those YouTube influencers saying, eat this, right? No, don't eat that, because then you're going to likely be more sick. So this was a very interesting study, again, showing that the healthcare workers who ate the most plants had the best odds of not having serious COVID. And then last one I want to share with you right now is this is a study that came from this really great researcher called Chris Gardner. I believe he's out of Stanford. And he did this study a couple of years ago where he took identical twins. Now, why is that interesting? Because so many people think their diseases is their genes, right? They inherited it from their parents or whatever. But no, more often what they inherited was poor eating habits, right? Eating the wrong foods because people don't have the knowledge. So he did this study with twins, identical twins, identical genetics, put one on a plant-based diet, one on an omnivorous diet, and again, he called both healthy, as much as you could make a healthy omnivore diet. Again, like no alcohol, no smoking, eating maybe more of the lean meat, things like that. And what happened after 8 weeks? And for the first like 4 weeks, they gave people actually the meals so that it was tightly controlled. And then the second half, they let people create their own meals. And basically, what they found with 22 healthy adult identical twin pairs, that those consuming a healthy vegan diet showed significantly improved low density lipoprotein. So that's your LDL, right? That's the one you want to have as low as possible. So you're not blocking your arteries with that saturated fat and cholesterol. And then they also showed that their fasting insulin level was better. They had more weight loss. So this study just gave another, more evidence showing that it's not your genetics. Your genetics are triggered by what you do. That's called epigenetics. And this was a very interesting study. And you know what? They actually made a little bit of a documentary about this study that's on Netflix. And I'm not going to show you the trailer right now because there's a little bit, just for time, because I'm going to show you a longer video. But you can go to Netflix if you subscribe to it, and you can put in "You Are What You Eat," a twin experiment official twin experiment. This was the trailer. But it's kind of an interesting documentary, and you might enjoy that. So I'm just going to go past that. Okay, so next what we're going to do is I am going to show you actually a longer video. It's about 17 minutes long, and it's with a whole food plant-based doctor named Dr. Lori Marbus. Years ago, I actually did a personal consult with her because I had some questions to her about certain issues, and I found her to be a very caring and knowledgeable doctor. And she is one of these doctors who's doing a lot of telehealth work. She was in one organization, and then she went to another. She's had a variety of different websites. She mentions in the video in the beginning that you can go to a website for more information, but that doesn't seem to be in existence anymore, which was called Healthy Human Revolution. But you can go to YouTube and put her name in the menu, and then you'll find a bunch of links for her, and she has a YouTube channel. So what she's going to talk about is how do you get started eating a whole food plant-based diet, right? And some people just think, what do I eat? Am I only going to eat kale and salad? And that nothing could be further from the truth. There's truly an abundance of wonderful food awaiting you when you start going on this journey. And now what I want to show you is where do you get these great recipes, right? If you don't know what to cook, put together, I have a couple of websites that I like to go to. Two of them I've gone to mostly, and then I have a third one I've just kind of looked at more recently. But I want to show you these, and you might want to jot them down or take a picture of my slide that I'm going to show you in a moment. So in case you don't know who these people are, because they have really delicious food that they create that's very healthy, using very healthy ingredients. So let me try to bring that back up. And let's see. I'm going to go past where I was. And then actually, I'm going to have to change the screen again in a second. So from current slide. Let's see. We don't goes over. Here we go. It should come up in a second. Okay. So those are the 3 websites that I would suggest you really check out. I'm just going to wait a moment in case you're jotting them down. You want to take a picture. And then we have a little bit of time left, and I'm going to just kind of go to them and kind of show you what's on there. So I've got to change my screen again. Let's see. Why can't I see that? Whoops. I might have to do this. All right, I put them up on my browser, and let's see, I don't really see it, but maybe if I go here, I can find it. All right, so let's go here first to here. So let's see if that's going to come up for you. Yeah, okay. So this is the website of a woman named Terry Edwards. Oh my God, she has so many things on here. This is all free, and like one of the recipes I got from her is I call it the Alfredo sauce, right? Back when I was still eating dairy, you go to an Italian restaurant, you get pasta with Alfredo, and I would basically call it heart attack, food, because it was highly saturated with all that dairy, right? Putting, bad things in my arteries. And this is a sauce basically made out of cashews, raw cashews with a couple of other ingredients. It is so unbelievably delicious. You just make it in a blender. And I got this from Terry. So you can see here, her different menu tabs, recipes, summer, articles, products. And let me just scroll down a little bit and you can kind of just see what her website looks like, and you can just click on any of these and, she'll give you the recipe and there might be, some content explaining about it. So it's a really great site, eatplantbased.com. So many things. There is Terry, wonderful woman. And she also was a Food for Life instructor with Physicians Committee for Responsible Medicine, if you know about that. And so she was teaching classes for them. Look at that, best vegan cheese sauce. Don't go buy that diet cheese in the grocery store that's basically made out of oil and a lot of those other fancy vegan cheeses that cost a lot of money. Go here, make what she has, right? There's probably a lot of nutritional yeast in there that helps make things yummy. So anyways, this is her site. Okay, so this is, and then I want to show you another one. This is called Monkey and Me Kitchen Adventure. And it's a mom and a daughter. And there they are. Here you can see them there. And now one of them has celiac disease. I don't remember which one. So everything here is gluten-free. Now, personally, I have no problems with gluten, and I eat gluten all the time. But their recipes are wonderful. And one of the reasons to me why they are so wonderful is because they use, let's see, where is their main thing here? Maybe I'm not on the, let me just go back. Let me go here to recipes. So here's, you can see all their menu tabs here. Let me click recipes. And then they even, let you select categories or search for something. But now you can kind of see some of their things. And what I was just about to say about them is they use a lot of spices and herbs. So you might look at the recipe and go, oh my gosh, there's like, what, 8 or something spices and herbs, but they use them over and over again. So you buy those little jars or get them bulk, however you like to do it, and you'll reuse them. And the great thing is, that is really nutritious for your body, and spice and herbs also help your microbiome. If you might have heard about the American Gut Project, which found out that if people would eat at least 30 different plants a week, they will have a more healthy microbiome, which is wonderful because our immune system is like right with that microbiome. And so spices and herbs can be part of those 30 different plant foods, right? So throw garlic powder, onion powder, smoked paprika, whatever, it is. So here's, some more of just like a little bit of their pictures. And I would really encourage you. I made a wonderful dish from them the other day. There was an African stew with garbanzo beans, and the peanut butter was the fat, had a bunch of vegetables. Oh my God, it was just unbelievably delicious. I just loved it. And, I made it in the Instant Pot and I had a lot left over. So I had to put some in my freezer. So this is them. And then I'm going to show you one other one, which is called Shane and Me, Shane and Simple. And I have not explored this site too much, but it's a newer one for me. But it seems that they mostly have pretty healthy food as well. And you can kind of see, what some of their things are here as well. So this is, how you kind of get started. You start exploring recipes, from these websites and, like maybe find, 5 to 10 for like your main meals, and you can start, making those. And, once you get good at that, you can bring in other things. So let me get out of all this and let's see, where am I? Uh, let's see. Get back to, I'm going to stop my share. And we just have a few minutes left. If anybody has any questions, comments, here's your time. Anybody?
Yeah. I don't see any questions in the chat, but if anybody would like to unmute themselves, if you have a question, that'd be fine. Well, I wrote down a couple comments. You were talking about processed meats, and isn't this hot dog season in your neck of the woods like it is in my neck of the woods? Hot dogs are
I
everywhere.
think America.
Yeah. Yeah, what I did a story on it a couple years ago about the number of hot dogs that we eat, and it's astounding, like per person. It's just astounding. And I'm going to have to revisit that so I can brush that up again and put it on my website. But yeah, it's the processed meat. Dr. McDougall used to say that's why thyroid issues occur because when you're eating pig thyroid, everything goes into the hot dog, all the parts of the pig. When you're eating pig thyroid and your body, tries to fight that, then it starts attacking your own thyroid as well. So just interesting things about processed meat. You mentioned that it's the number one carcinogen, right? It's rated as a
Right.
top.
The World Health Organization, quite a while
Yeah.
ago, said that I mean, that's like plutonium, asbestos. Why would you want to
Mhm.
put that in your body or give that to your loved ones? It just doesn't make any sense.
Out of ignorance, mostly, because I used to be there. So I can tell you.
Yeah, I remember as a kid going to this little hot dog place and it was like, I got the fat in the hot dog and I got the French fries, and boy, was I a happy kid at that moment. But it's sad that my mom, the main cook, she didn't know any of this. And
Hmm.
and actually, just to just tell everybody, just real quickly, in case you haven't heard my little story, the reason why I really got into this teaching and learning is because when I saw the documentary Forks Over Knives when I was 60 years old, which was I'm 73 now, so 13 years ago. That's where I learned about the heart reversal studies of Dr. Caldwell Esselstyn and Dr. Dean Ornish. And my father had heart disease for 30 years until he died. And it didn't matter. He was given drugs, he was given procedures, and the heart disease kept getting worse, and then he died of it. And I'm like, what? There were studies showing that if he would have fundamentally changed his diet and my mother would have cooked differently, he might have arrested his heart disease and not suffered like he did for 30 years, with the anxiety, am I going to have another heart attack, or what's the next procedure I'm going to have, despite all the drugs, despite all the visits to cardiologists. That made me angry that knowledge wasn't there. And so that's what I said to myself, because I like to learn and research, and I said, you know what? I'm going to learn this. I'm going to teach this. And for people who don't want to suffer from disease, I'm going to help them learn how not to do it. And for myself too, right? At 73, I still have all this energy. I go to the gym. I can do, biceps with like a big 40-pound, weight, and I really believe that my lifestyle really allows me, these opportunities to have these activities. I play music. I'm a percussionist, and I enjoy life. And if I was suffering with a chronic disease, I don't think that would be happening. So, that's kind of, how I got into it.
Interesting. I have to say that I love all three of the websites you put up there. In fact, those are the three main websites that I feature in my newsletter.
Isn't
I,
that interesting?
yeah,
What a coincidence. I wonder
just
if
this week.
anybody watching has used recipes from them.
Yeah, Monkey and Me. What I like about them too is that in the recipe, they separate the spices out into its own little category. So
Uh-huh.
you can make your little spice bowl before you even start the recipe because they're all listed together in a little separate thing. I love that.
Right. And that's actually a great way to cook. I mean, when I did actually last week, because I'm teaching an 8-week course right now to people in Las Vegas, and last week was 6, and I did a cooking class. It was actually I did a lot of stuff for them, and I had everything prepared. I like the day before, I prepped everything. I cut everything. I got all my spices together so it could go faster while the class was going on, and it was a great class. I loved doing it, and I showed them so many wonderful things. And
Mhm.
yeah, so like the way to cook is have everything ready before you actually, start the cooking process. And then it makes it, there's a French word for that, which I don't remember what it is, but that makes things, go better.
So Denise, how can people stay in touch with you or learn more about you or even be in one of your cooking classes? How do they do that?
Well, most my classes are part of an organization called the Osher Lifelong Learning Institute, called OLLI. And I see Lavita's on here, and Lavita actually was in several of my OLLI classes. So if any of you, where you live, if you have an OLLI program, and it's spelled OLLI, you could tell them, hey, I know of a course that would be really interesting for us to offer, and it's by Denise Rose, and it's on whole food plant-based nutrition. And they can get a hold of me. My email is derose@comcast.net. And so you can do that. And right now, that would be the best way. I mean, if somebody here has a particular question, that you'd like me to answer, you're more than welcome. Thank you for putting that there, Sid. You can email me, and I'd be happy to answer your question, to the best of my ability. I really am motivated to help people not suffer from disease. I don't want it, and I don't want it for you.
Yeah. And your enthusiasm is contagious too. Get all pumped up.
I hear that a lot. Well, that's, knowledge and passion, and knowing, like, I really know, like that, what Dr. Marva said, what is my why? As I've said it over, that I don't want to suffer if I don't have to. If I'm going to get sick, and I can get sick tomorrow. I can get a diagnosis tomorrow that I won't want, right? Because there's many reasons we get sick. There's a lot in our environment. There's, what I ate before I became whole food plant-based, what my mother ate when I was a fetus in her body, when I was just an egg. All those things actually make a difference. But, once you learn, you can do better, right? Once you know better, you can do better. And my mantra for myself is, if I'm going to be sick, I don't want it to be my fault. I really feel that so, so strongly. I want to use the evidence that I've learned, implement it for me. And then if I get sick, I can say to myself, well, Denise, you did the very best you can with the evidence you've learned. And things just happen in life, and then you're, unfortunate or unlucky at this point, but at least you tried your very best. And that's what guides me in my life and my decisions.
Very good. Well, everyone, the replay of this will be posted in a day or two. Make sure you go back and visit that again and send your friends to it as well. Denise, do you have any parting words of wisdom for us before we sign off tonight?
Eat plants, right? Get there. Even if you have to go a little slower, get there. And then don't do the other things that are detrimental to your health. Don't drink alcohol. Many people want to do that. Oh, have that glass of wine, have that beer, right? But more and more research keeps coming out. Alcohol is not healthy for your body, right? It causes disease, and it's not worth it. Drink water, enjoy other things, don't smoke, make sure you exercise, do the other lifestyle principles, and that will help you. But, what you put in your body every single day, every meal, maximize your nutrition. I kind of learned that from Dr. Michael Greger at nutritionfacts.org. How can I maximize every meal, right? Can I throw in more leafy greens, right? Am I eating my cruciferous vegetables, most anti-inflammatory vegetables? What am I doing to help myself? And know why you're doing it.
Very good. Well, thank you so much, Denise. This has been fascinating. You always share such great information.
And
we
I
hope to
thank
see you
you for
again.
those of you who are here live. It's nice to see a little bit of group that, is there. And if you're going to be watching on the replay, I hope that you find, this last hour informative and helpful for you, so that you can do the very best for yourself that you want to do. And so thank you, everybody.
Thank you so much. All right, everyone. Have a great week ahead and enjoy July, the rest of your July. Good night.
Bye-bye, everybody. Thank you.
Thanks for watching and for being a part of the PBNSG community. If you found this video helpful, be sure to give it a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel for even more plant-based insights, expert interviews, and delicious recipes.